All right, so before we step into this next episode, I just want to give you a heads up. This is not your traditional episode from the KO podcast, okay? I had a loss in my family this week, a major loss. Actually, my Nana passed away, and she was 92 years old, so obviously, as she was aging, we saw this type of stuff coming, but something crazy happens when we lose someone, right? I know for me, I always ask God, I say, hey, just can you give me some memories? Give me memories that I need to be reminded of from the past. Good, exciting, loving memories. And what's so crazy is right after doing that, I had this moment in my mind of an experience I had with my Nana. So anyways, I'm doing this just to honor her life. She made a huge difference in my life. She was always helping me grow, always just so proud of me. The times I got to spend with her, I feel like I'll never forget. And as time goes on, there's sometimes people in our life that we lose. We didn't plan on that happening, right? Maybe someone in your life you lost at a much younger age. And sometimes it's so easy to get stuck in that darkness. But, I just ask today, maybe a new memory comes to mind of someone you lost. So for me to really, memorialize, her and this moment, I thought to myself, hey, she's a pillar of our family. She was always rallying people together, always taking care of us, always setting up the table for a new event. And I thought, from a leadership context, what does it look like to be a pillar? So you're going to hear me speak in this next episode, and I'm going to get pretty emotional. I even feel that way now as I'm telling you it. But I want to be real with you because, see, leadership is a lifestyle. Leadership is real. You do not need to hide your feelings from your team, from those you love, and I'm not going to do that to you. So I'm going to speak to you from a very raw place. I recorded this while I was on the road, and some of these memories were coming up as I did the episode. But I'm speaking to you from a real, raw place. I want to emphasize that. We do not need to look like we have it all together all the time. There's a difference in telling someone, that you're upset with how things are going and you're depressed and you're angry and, and you're talking bad about those you work for or the company that you work for. There's a difference in that, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about recognizing that life is actually happening consistently. And the more real you are, I bet you the more real your team will be with you. The more real your family will be with you. In my book, Weapons of Mass Deception, that'll be coming out here in just a couple months, I talk about what we suppress in our heart spreads into our home. You think you can hide it, but really what's happening is that they can feel it. See, that is why I want to be real with you today on this episode. So we are reaching the end of this week, which means it's time for me to make an episode. And here I am driving in the snow for episode 28, talking to you. And some very interesting things have been happening in my life. And for some reason, I just feel that they might come out in this episode. To be honest, there's a lot of episodes out there that are like, hey, this is why we made this one. But if you've been working with me for a while and we've been kind of walking through life together, you probably know that a lot of the way I teach leadership is just through our lifestyle, right? One thing I talk about is that leadership is a lens, a language, and a lifestyle, all built on the foundation of love. If you don't love people, you can't lead people. Here's why. You might have some influence for a little while, but if you don't love them, they're going to feel it and they're going to leave you eventually. And you're going to have a revolving door business. You're going to have a revolving door company. And you're going to be like, man, why doesn't anyone stick around? Well, we all know this kind of stuff, but maybe it needs to be said again. Number one reason people leave their jobs is because of a relationship they have with the person they work for, right? Where they're like, they don't care about me, or they don't get me, they don't like me, they're not helping me. All this type of stuff goes on in the back of the minds of our team members as leaders. So what I was thinking about for today's episode is like, what does it look like to be a pillar of a community? What does it look like to be a pillar of someone's family, right? And yesterday I found out that my grandma passed, my Nana, and she was 92 years old, and she was a pillar. Like, I can say that with so much clarity, thinking all the way back to the youngest ages of my life, that I can remember. She was a pillar. She kept things together. She kept people coming around the table for lunch, for dinner, all that type of stuff. Now, I've always lived at a distance from my Nana, so all I remember are like certain holidays and camping and trips like that. But I could say there were a couple key attributes I saw of her that I'm going to share in this episode. And I just want us to think about this, because we're talking about the big picture of our life, right? She was 92 years old, and she lived a full life. She has a lot of kids, a lot of relationships, a lot of influence, and I believe she will definitely be remembered. And, I happen to be the one to have the podcast, so that's why I'm making an episode for this. But there are people in her life who's much more appropriately aligned to talk about her life than me. But with this platform, the only reason I have it is to be able to help people that I meet living life, to point them in a direction of a video that might help them. So in the case of this, let's talk about the real big picture of our life. I think I'm gonna hit on probably 3 things that I think really are critical to becoming a pillar for other people, right? Obviously, we have our firm foundation found in, our relationship with God, right? Like, for me, that's the case. And He's the greatest pillar. He's the thing that never changes, that I can always lean on, always rely on. And a lot of my leadership training comes from that. But this podcast is open to all faiths, all backgrounds, all experiences, recognizing, hey, if I can be real with who I am and where I'm at right now, hopefully it allows you to be real as well, right? So let's talk about those 3 things that I think are critical to becoming a pillar, and we're going to just talk about the life of my Nana. Let's do it. Welcome to the KO Podcast, where we select, specialize you with training, and send you out to bring transformation to a hurting world. To bring transformation to the systems and the people and the hearts that need it most. Look, if you're someone who you believe that our best days are ahead of us, then this is the podcast for you. If you are a mission-minded leader, we are here to serve you. Because see, the mission is greater than what you do. The mission belongs to who you are. The mission is surrounding you. Your mission is in your heart, in your home, in your community, in the workplace. And we will prepare you for that mission. In each episode, we're going to provide you with the tactics and our strategy to help you go to that next level as you bring the solutions that have been placed inside of you with the lens that you've been given to see the world. Now more than ever, this is your time to move. This is your time to continue mission. I'm your host, Adam Jones, and it's an honor to serve you. Okay, so first thing that I noticed is really important to becoming a pillar of a community as you grow in your leadership and as you age, right, as you mature, is really becoming someone who, it's funny because this is one of the values of my family, and I'm seeing it portrayed in her life, but the value of invitation, inviting other people. Being the person who creates a table and says, anyone can come. Anyone can come sit with us. Anyone can come eat with us, right? Just putting something together, an event, an experience, and then saying, all are welcome. That's something I remember with my Nana. I remember her, working really hard to invite people over to her house all the time for Christmas and all these things, and setting the table so that others can come. Right? Like, hey, you don't need to worry about anything other than getting here. And then she did a lot of work behind the scenes forever. I just remember her working so hard. She was really a single mother most of her life, it's the only thing I remember, okay? Since I'm 32 years old, for at least the past 32 years, it's just been her. And there's a lot more to the story than that, right? And I saw how hard she worked to get her sons and daughters and their families an experience, a Christmas. I remember always showing up to her house, and there was always a present for me, some present that was hidden away that she could go get. She was just creating an experience. And I think leaders who are pillars of their family and of their community, they understand the importance of just invitation. Just set something up, put it in the calendar, say what's going on, and then invite others to join. And that takes a lot of work to be able to do that, right? But that's what my Nana did. She created a platform of invitation for others. Another thing is, so we talked about invitation as one key thing that I think is really important. A second thing is creating an experience, right? An invitation is inviting other people to come join, but then what's the experience behind it, right? What are the traditions behind it? And I remember she was a restaurant owner, and I remember we would go to her house for Christmas, right? Christmas Eve and stuff, and then we'd walk as a family down to her restaurant. It'd be snowing, it'd be icy, it'd be all these things. We'd go walk there, and then she'd open up the restaurant for just her family, and it was just a lot of different people, coming together. We'd play pool. There was a pool table at her restaurant. She would teach me, this is where I got emotional today thinking about it. She would teach me how to make pancakes, and to date, I'm probably one of the worst cooks alive. But she would put pancakes together, like the actual batter, and then we had this giant stovetop where she would show me how to make a snowman pancake and how to make a reindeer pancake, and we'd put cherries, and she always had all the extra stuff, right? Some people, we just say, here's the batter, and then there's people like my Nana who says, here's the batter, here's the sprinkles, here's the whipped cream, here's the cherries, here's an idea, and we would do that together. We would, she'd have me come stand on a stool, and then we'd do that. And that was something just every year we would do things like that, and it was just so amazing to really, as I remembered it, I started tearing up today because I was like, man, it's interesting the things you remember about someone when you find out they passed. And for any of my family members who might be listening to this right now, I would just say, I just pray that new memories, old memories becoming fresh in your mind come up right now. In Jesus' name, I just pray that for you, because when I said that, all of a sudden I saw the image of her and I making pancakes, all that good stuff. So see, that's an experience, right? And she would constantly create experiences. It wouldn't just be about showing up, but there would be some plans behind the scenes. And she just made it special. So I think that is crucial to becoming a pillar in a family. If you're someone who you feel that you've lost that pillar in your family, like we've lost, look at how can you become it? How can you work together to create that again for your family? Maybe it's not just one person, but multiple people. Usually one pillar doesn't hold up a building, right? You always think of those 4 pillars. Maybe it's 4 people coming together to create events and experiences. This is how you keep the family going. And that's what she did for sure. All right, another thing. I would say I remember my Nana always being willing to have deeper conversations with me. I remember always being able to talk to her about things that were on my heart, things I was processing with my family, and she was just there, and she just listened, and she was so alert, regardless of her age. She was so alert to what we were talking about. And she would offer suggestions, and her wisdom, it was so amazing, because really she had some really rough parts of her life, and she kept her family going. She took care of her family, and I honor that, and I love her for that. And what's so crazy, let's zoom out for a second. Do you realize if it wasn't for your grandparents and their lives, we wouldn't have ours? Like, we really do carry the image of our family where we go. You know, we really carry that image. There's a part of who she is that lives in me, that lives in her daughters and her sons and her grandkids. And you know what I mean? Like, there's something there. There's a part of her that lives on. And maybe we can't always see it, but that's legacy. You know, what does it mean for a leader to build their legacy? You know, to teach the value of invitation and experiences, and then having those deeper conversations, being willing to have those. You know, I remember she would just pull me aside and be like, "What's wrong, honey?" You know, because I've always been so, I've always been wired to be such an intense person and a high performer and an achiever. And sometimes she would see all the achievement, but see he's tired. You know, I'm worried about him. I think there was a time where she told my mom, like, you know, Adam doesn't sound happy right now. And it's like, why wouldn't he sound happy? He has a daughter. You know, now I have two, but I'm thinking of a specific situation. He has a daughter. He was a Black Hawk pilot. He did all the things he always said he was going to do, and yet he's not happy. And I'm worried about him. And, you know, he just sounds so tired. He sounds so serious. Like, I remember my Nana bringing things like this up to my mom, and me thinking I could just hide it. I didn't even want to acknowledge that I wasn't happy. I mean, seriously, like, why? Who am I to not be happy? I have all these great things in my life. You know, I have a beautiful wife who loves me. Yes, we were going through some major challenges, but we'll get through it, you know, and I have all the things I wanted. But I didn't have really that sense of inner peace and fulfillment because I was always searching for it outside of myself. And what I learned is to find it inside of, you know, who I am and the relationships around me and my strong dependence on God, not just to be someone I pray to, but someone I can learn from, someone who's there to build me up regardless of what I've done. I feel like my Nana made me acknowledge that, you know. 15 years old, I'm walking around in a military uniform with a beret on, you know, the blue beret from Civil Air Patrol. We're going on family trips, and for some reason I felt it necessary after leaving military training to just keep my uniform on as if I couldn't change. I just had so much pride for freedom, for our nation, for the uniform, what it represented. And sometimes it's easy to hide behind that, right? I can see that this message in the podcast is going to start to shift, so bear with me. But I saw those things and I thought, if I just have that, you know, then I'll matter, then I'll be enough, then I'll be significant, I'll be important. And it was like as quick as I could, I wanted to only attach myself to that identity. And I guarantee you, my Nana saw that growing up. But there were some really important conversations I had with her, probably just about 2.5, 3 years ago, that led to my transformation today and led me to becoming, honestly, a healthy father and husband. And I'm not going to share that on this podcast, but I had some really amazing conversations with her, things I needed to search out. And she helped me. She really did. She listened. She talked to me about it. She reminded me of who I always was. And that is a pillar. And I just remember specifically because, man, I'm the baby of the family, significantly. Okay, my brother's 18 years older than me, and my sister's 16 years older than me. Everyone was kind of older and moving on, and I was just getting started. And she made it so that I didn't feel that way. There was a huge part of my life where I was the only kid for quite a while. Then eventually new cousins came along and stuff. But I'm so thankful that I never felt bored as the only kid, you know? Like, she created amazing opportunities. I remember playing with, you know, all her different collections and stuff like that. little, like, I think like ceramic houses and stuff, things that kids shouldn't play with, but she let me play with it, you know? And I just love her for it. Nana, thank you for who you were, the influence you've had on my life. And man, I will continue mission. All right, so I warned you it was going to get emotional, and I really hope this message added value to you. You know, for me, I said it in the podcast, but I'll say it one more time. The only reason I have a podcast is because I wanted to be able to have a way of serving people that, honestly, I meet in person and being able to point them to solutions, right? I can't give everyone my time. You know, I'm pretty maxed out. I got a lot on the calendar right now. We got the book coming out. We got a course coming out. We have the business, the job, you know, being a father, being a husband, all of it. It's just a lot. And you know what it's like. But I can't give my time to people the way I would like to. But I can give them these episodes. So this is an episode that I would just really encourage you to share. If there's someone that you know in your life who maybe they lost someone they loved recently, or, you know, just in general, because I really do believe in this episode, it teaches you a little bit of how can you go and look at the life of someone and just pull out 3 lessons, just 3 things that stood out to them. And then, you know, what does that actually represent about them? Like for me, I said how my Nana is a pillar, right? Well, here's the 3 things that made me think she's a pillar. Well, how can we learn from this, right? So, you know, so quickly as a leader, I like to analyze the situation and create a lesson from it. And that's what I'd like to do with this. So I really hope to add value to you. I hope this honored my Nana and my family. And just overall, you know, if one person from this, maybe you're going through grief, maybe you're in a struggle right now, maybe you just had loss. If one person receives some new breakthrough, some new memory from hearing my memories, man, it's all worth it. And it's been an honor to serve you. So share it, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you next episode. Continue mission.